Hello, and welcome to Taking Over. I am Ed Fries, and I'm joined by Astrid Pizarro. How you doing?
How are you?
I'm doing well. And we're going to start the show with some news. Might as well start the show with some news. Mm-hmm. So, as you all know, Parrish started the show when NXT ended over at our other home and whatnot. But things have changed, and unfortunately, Parrish hasn't been able to make the shows lately. And he has asked me that if I would temporarily take over Taking Over. So you got it back. The NXT twosome, minus our good friend who's now watching a wonderful wrestling show with Impact, who you can catch with Astrid every Thursday night. The NXT team is back together, taking over every week on our local establishment, on Astrid Pizarro on Twitch, on my own personal Twitch at Ed Fries 2002. We have Carl saying that our local establishment is number one. He is correct. We have Mel Ball joining us. Hello, Mel.
Hello.
I mean, there's Beauty. She's over there. And then there's the Beast. You know, we got the Disney thing going. We had, last week I said I was excited to not have to watch this show because I really wasn't looking forward to it because of last week's show. Mm-hmm. This week's show was pretty good. Yeah. It rebounded. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't some issues.
True.
We only saw Mandy Rose for about 20 seconds on this show. Not enough Mandy.
Great for me.
We saw no Nikita Lyons on the show. Bad.
Fine by me.
Bad NXT. Bad NXT. But there was a lot to like here. We have our friends over at In the Hot Seat podcast saying hello. Hello. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed this episode. I have had my fill of Booker T, though. We're going to start there. There's a lot of things to talk about. We're going to start with Booker T because I want to get the bad stuff out of the way first. Because I want to enjoy the rest of the show. Mm-hmm. I do. I like gold. I am gold member. But anyways, Booker T. He was rough all night. Let's be honest. He did not have a good night on commentary. But what has to take the cake, and I put this in my notes because I messaged it to Astrid. Mm-hmm. So Isla Dawn has her first match in NXT proper, in NXT USA, and she wins. And we'll talk a lot about a match that had nothing going on to it because she destroyed Tia Hale, and I enjoyed every single second of it.
Of course he did.
Of course I did. But the one thing that was interesting about this is during the post-match with Alba Fire, Booker T says, and I quote, "I don't understand why this is happening." To which I yelled at my TV and then messaged to Astrid, "Booker, you were standing 2 flipping feet away when Isla Dawn pushed Alba Fire off of a ladder and cost her the women's championship. You think that might have something to do with it?"
Booker T has no memory of that.
He does not. He does not remember it. I know that because earlier in this match when Isla Dawn was coming out, Booker T says, "I know nothing about this person." Now, forgetting that 2 weeks ago we had an absolutely wonderful vignette where it explained who Isla Dawn was, why she was here, and why she attacked Alba Fire. It got all 3 check marks as to what we need in a good debut vignette. By the way, Bird Lady, still bad vignettes. But we'll get to that. But no, Booker has no idea why Alba Fire wants to attack Isla Dawn or who Isla Dawn is. That's not good.
No, and it goes back to my point, like when he was announced as one of the commentators for NXT, I said, I don't want him there. And I know at the time, Parrish told me, oh, it's good because he's a veteran. It's like, oh, I'm not discrediting what he helps behind the scenes to the talent. But him on commentary, if you listen to it, he's having like a whole different conversation from the one Vic is having, first of all. And it's like Vic is saying the story and like explaining it to you. And Booker, on the other hand, is just lost. And he doesn't even know like who's in front of him, what's happening. Doesn't remember the people. It's like, how do you forget something that happened 2 weeks ago that was literally next to you? Yeah. I don't understand. It's just like, that's supposed to be your job in commentary, to remember things like that. because that way you can highlight it when it's happening in front of you at that moment. And it's just like, that's why I said from the beginning, I don't want Booker on commentary. I really don't. He doesn't remember the people, doesn't remember the detailing. So just like doesn't help to the storyline where he's like, oh, like, and Littlefire's like, oh, hell no. And then, and like disagreeing with Vic when something clearly is happening in front of him. That's like the total opposite of what he's saying. And that's the main reason why I didn't want him there to begin with.
Yeah, we have In the Hot Seat podcast saying babyface Booker T on commentary is better than heel Booker T on commentary. I will also add in all of these Booker T on commentary is better than Booker T trying to call his own match in TNA. And if you've never seen that clip, go look it up. It is one of, you thought The Rock doing commentary was rough. Wait till you see Booker T trying to do it in TNA in the 6-sided ring with Scott Steiner running around. It was fantastic. Barry also says Booker is old. He probably fell asleep. It's easy at our old. I agree. But like, it happened legitimately in front of his feet. Like, she literally got pushed over right in front of him. You'd think that would be something to remember.
Yeah, or take a note of it, like things like that. Shouldn't he have those notes in front of him while the show was happening beforehand too? And they're just like, I don't even know. It's like, if you're not clearly displaying what's in front of you, what you've seen, you should also help us remember as fans of what's happening during the show. If you clearly don't remember, there's a problem there. I'm just saying.
It made me miss Byron Saxton. And that's saying something, because I'm not a fan of Byron Saxton on commentary. That being said, I missed Byron Saxton. But Booker T aside, Bird Lady vignette aside, this was a really good show. It starts, I'm going to start at the top because I think that's really the best place to start with the show, because the whole show had this wonderful flow to it tonight. Now, granted, there were some herky-jerky moments where they did the typical, but first wait, stuff. Mm-hmm. But the whole night, it felt like there was a clear plan. We're going to tell you about all the matches that are going to happen, you know, because half of these we didn't book, so we have to, you know, make sure we tell you that some of these matches are happening. But they gave reasons for every one of them, except for one. And it might be the most excited match that I'm most excited for, but we'll get there. But Axiom versus Von Wagner versus Andre Chase. I really like this match. I think it's Von Wagner's best match. Most importantly, I was more impressed with Von Wagner in this match than anybody else. I thought he had a fantastic match working with Andre Chase and Axiom. What about you, Ashley? What are your thoughts on this? I know how much you enjoy Axiom.
Yeah. I think the part that I like the most is this. It wasn't one of those, like, there's always going to be, the third person's always going to be outside of the match and we're going to forget about them. It's like they always had, you know, two of them and then somebody will come in. Something's happening, the third one will come in. So it wasn't like too long of a moment that it was only two people facing each other, because the third competitor will always come in somehow, which is what I liked about the triple threat matches, because it kind of, when you see that third person kind of lingering in the background, kind of gives you an idea sometimes as to who's going to win the match, which is something that I'll get to a little bit later on about the other one. But yeah, I love like the little like teams here, like the way that Axiom and Andre were working together against Vaughn, and the tackle they did to him at the same time. I like anything like that, and the submission, like anything Axiom did was really well done as well. But I feel like, yeah, they had really good chemistry between all three of them. I love Andre, just the crowd being behind him the way they were tonight during this match. Like, I know it wasn't for him, but I was like, please, I just want you to win at the same time. But yeah, overall, I was really excited for the match, and I'm glad it was Axiom, but I feel like it was a good opener, though.
Yeah, there was a lot to like with this match. Von Wagner, he felt like he was in the pocket tonight. He wasn't being relied on for too much. He knew the spots he needed to be involved in. He had two guys. Now, granted, Axiom is very young. Like, let's not forget, Axiom is a kid. He's incredibly young. He's Cora Jade, Roxanne age. That being said, he's been in the ring for probably what feels like forever. He knows what he's doing. He hits his spots. He is absolutely fantastic. Andre Chase is just that consummate. Like I say, I will continue to say it. Andre Chase reminds me of Heath Slater. He is that guy who you can rely on for all the comedy stuff that you need, But when you need a guy to go in the ring and have a good match with somebody, Andre Chase is going to give you that good match. We do have Barry coming in saying, I have no idea of his history, but Andre Chase is a good wrestler who can help others look good. He is. And we found out on air one night, because I didn't realize who it was on the indie scene, because I've seen him a bunch on the indie scene. For those wondering who Andre Chase is in his background, he is Harlem Bravado of the indie scene. So if you want to go look him up, Harlem Bravado, he has some fantastic matches. He is a wonderful worker on the indie scene. But this Andre Chase character has been phenomenal. But Axiom wins, and my first thought was, oh, look, they snuck a babyface into this heel match for the chance to fight the babyface champion. I guarantee you Axiom doesn't win this match. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I would have rather had Von Wagner win, just so it was a potential. Like, I knew he wasn't going to win that match anyways, but like, mm-hmm. I don't think either of the ones getting in tonight were ever going to win, because I don't think you put the person who's going to win the match as one of the people that you didn't think was worthy of being in the match in the first place. Sure. Yeah. But now we get part 1 of 4 of these 30, 40-second vignettes of all of the women's the women's contenders of the 4 who are already in the match. So we start with Cora Jade cutting her promo. And I mean, it was fine. All of these promos suffered from the same thing. They said a whole lot that meant nothing. With really the exception of Roxanne, it was all a bunch of words that really meant nothing. Cora Jade was all about her having the personality change, having that killer instinct, having the ability to go and do what she needs to do to further her own career. Or as I put it in my notes, Cora Jade cuts a promo about being a naughty girl. Those are word for word what I put in about Cora Jade's promo. But in reality, that's really all she did. Like, she went out there and she talked about turning her back on Roxanne. She talked about what she did to Wendy Choo. She talked about having that mean streak, about knowing when to put herself first to make the most of her career. It was a really good promo, but I don't think we needed it. I also don't think we needed the men's kerfuffle at the end of the show either, but we had that too.
I liked it and I didn't. I liked it because it was kind of like that profile for that competitor and giving you that reasoning of like, this is why I'm going to win this match. But it just like the same time, we already know who they are. We know which one, what they bring to the table as well. So to me, they could have done without these, especially with the guys at the end. This one with the Grayson Waller effect was, I'm like, we could have done with the women being the main event, because at the same time, we don't need them going this back and forth. We already know who does what the characters are. And like Cora J, for example, just telling us, this is what I've done and this is what I'm bringing to this match. We already know. We don't need something like this. I think these are one of the things that they could have done as a digital exclusive later on, perhaps. But at the same time, I liked it because I like having that like profile for that certain competitor to like remind you, this is who's in the match already, which is the only way we could have gone with the girls tonight, because we only had that triple threat about the average survivor.
The one thing I would say is that this would have fit on the deadline card as 4 little back-to-back things in the promo package for the match. I think that would have been a much better spot for this, because you're going to have a bigger crowd on Peacock. And yes, I know how crazy this is to sound. You're going to have a better crowd on Peacock who you can tell more about your story than having on the NXT on the weekly show. Barry has... Now, I'm not the biggest Cora Jade fan, I'll admit. I have a little bit of a higher opinion than Barry, though, but Cora Jade having a personality would be a revelation. I tend to start listening or watching her and then get distracted by paint drying. I will admit that she's not the most ultra-talented speaker in the world. That being said, she at least knows how to cut a promo, and it can be at least workable. As opposed to the women's champion on Raw, not Raw. Whoa, wrong program. Bianca can cut a fantastic promo.
Yeah, I was going to say.
SmackDown. SmackDown. Ronda Rousey, the one who could beat me up. I mean, they could both beat me up, but Ronda can hurt me a whole lot more than Bianca could. But anyways, back to the point. Ronda can't cut a promo to save her life. Like, she really can't. It's not good. Yeah. At least Cora can cut a promo that I can listen to. But I agree. I mean, she's void of emotion when she talks. I don't feel it from her. And it's the one thing I can say about the men at the end of the show. With all 5 of them, I felt what they were saying. Even the creepy JD McDouchebag, I felt when he started talking, I believed him. I could feel it. But I didn't, connect with it. We then get Ivy Nile making sure that Astrid's boyfriend can't compete tonight and on the deadline card. But for those who don't know, this is Julius Creed getting checked out for his knee. And when he gets cleared for his knee, he's all excited. Brutus is all excited. And Ivy Nile decides to make sure that they check his ribs. And Julius isn't happy. And Brutus is really not happy. And they check his ribs, and they say he can't compete. And they're not going to clear him. And Brutus is very, very angry at Ivy. And Ivy's like, look, I'm just looking out for him. This was fun. Ivy Nile was on the show. Good for her. I had almost forgotten she was still in Diamond Mine.
No.
I love Ivy Nile. You know how much I like Ivy Nile. But NXT has this terrible habit of Ivy Nile being there. And I guarantee you, we won't see her for 3 weeks now. I guarantee we'll be missing Ivy Nile for the next 3 shows. That's my guess as what happens next. We then get one of the more interesting things I've ever seen. Astrid, I know how much you're a fan of these out in Florida, out of the PC, out of the wrestling arena vignettes. I want you to tell us about the promo segment vignette thing that we got between Apollo Crews and Braun Breaker on a boat.
I mean, like you said, I liked that it was outside. It just reminds me of a typical Florida guy with Braun just fishing. I don't know if I wanted to see that to be exact, but okay. I did like the back and forth that they had, because even though they were like being like respectful to each other, they were like kind of like hints, this is what's gonna happen to you. It's like, you stole my move. Well, I do better than you, better than you, and things like that. And just like the little sharp thing, the comments that they give to each other. I really like that back and forth they had. Just like, it's okay, I'm gonna bring my usual stuff. It's like, okay, then I'm gonna bring something that's gonna counter my usual moves, because that's what you're stealing from me anyway. And it's like that back and forth they had. I really liked it, because I feel like you don't see that often, kind of like in a respectful manner towards each other. So I really like that aspect of it. But I just thought it was funny. And then just having Apollo catching a fish, even though that Braun couldn't, and things like that just made me laugh at the end. Everything is at the end either way is something that's memorable. I feel like a lot of people are going to end up talking about this tonight, because it's on a different set than usual.
Yeah, I thought it went too long. I'll be honest. I think it went a little too long. That being said, it was one of the more entertaining things on the show, because take out the cough drop. Drink my non-sponsored Yoo-hoo. Yoo-hoo, if you want to sponsor me, go ahead. But no, Apollo Crews and Braun Breaker, for some reason, they don't have great chemistry, but I feel the camaraderie, friendship-y thing that they're trying to do, and it's working. Mm-hmm. It's not the most perfected way of working, but it's working nonetheless. And I really enjoy it. They didn't say anything drastically great here, but like you said, I did like the idea of Apollo saying, yeah, I have to prepare for my own moveset since you do a lot of what I do. They are very similar, but different. Mm-hmm. I'm looking forward to this match. I think it's going to be one of Braun Breaker's better matches, because I think it's the one guy who can be Braun Breaker to Braun Breaker, and he has that similar moveset. And we'll get to our predictions for the card for Deadline a little bit later on. But I'm very excited for that match. We then get Bryson Montana massacred by Indusher. And then out comes Big Body Javi. Forgetting that, he's coming out for his match. He obviously wasn't watching the monitor backstage. He comes up walking out, and he gets about 2 steps from the ring before realizing that Indusher is just standing there waiting for him. Mm-hmm. And he feigns that he's, done something to his thigh and goes ahead and, hightails it back. We then get Indusher. I believe it was Veer who was on the microphone for Indusher, saying that Julius is not 100%, and as such, they don't want to take on the Creeds until Julius is 100%. I like this. I like that they're heels, but like, no. We want you at your best so you can make no complaints when we absolutely wreck you.
Yeah.
I still stand by my statement. When Julius Creed is 100%, I still stand by that they should get absolutely massacred and lose in like 2 minutes to Indusher. I think it will be very good for both teams. Indusher gets that major push that they need for beating the former tag team champions, and it gives the Creed something to build to without having the championships. What do you think of this little section here? I mean, the Creeds come out and try to fight, but the referees hold them back.
I wonder if it was also not only that, but this is a way of delaying the match because they probably won't have enough time to do it for a deadline, for example. So that's another thing that I was thinking of as this was happening. But like you said, I thought it was interesting coming from like a heel team. We're just like, we don't want you now when you're injured. We want you when you're healthy because we're going to destroy you anyway at the end. But also Ivy and the way she was protecting the Creed, especially Julius, it just made me think of what JD was telling her not too long ago. And that was in the back of my mind as well. So I'm like, we'll see how that starts building up later on. But I liked having her and Tatum there with them as well as support. Still wondering what the heck is Roddy? Roddy's missing. We're gonna have to put a missing poster in the milk carton or something. I wonder where he is. How they're gonna add him back to this if he is. That's another thing I kept thinking about. Just like, when are we gonna have him back? And if are we really? Because at this point, I feel like it's forgotten about that he was part of Diamond Man at this point. And not only that, but with Damon Kemp too, same thing. Just like Julius beat him and he's off screen. So what's next for him? So those are the questions I had in the back of my mind as this was happening too.
NXT's done a very good job of rotating people out of storylines and then putting people back in storylines that may have been missing for a while. I really enjoyed, like you say it as a negative with, Damon Kemp being gone and Roddy being gone. To an extent, I look at it as a positive because it's giving more people more opportunity to stand up. We're getting to see more out of Ivy Nile now. We're getting to see the Creeds kind of try to stand on their own 2 feet. There's no real place for Damon Kemp right now, unless you were going to put him in a match with Odyssey Jones, but that's where Von Wagner's positioned. So it kind of makes sense that he just takes a little bit of a backseat. Let's get through Deadline as we head towards Vengeance Day, which we found out about today. Well, granted, leaked, not confirmed, but heavily suggested that NXT will be finally back on the road for PLEs starting in next year. And I believe it's going to be North Carolina for Vengeance Day. So very excited if that is true. We then had Chase U backstage giving me my Christmas gift early as Tia Hale comes back as Duke is trying to console Andre Chase with his loss and says that she's going to go ahead and have a match tonight against Isla Dawn. And it put a big smile on my face. I was very excited.
I knew at the moment it happened. I kept thinking, rest in peace, Tia. See you on the other side. Bye. But I felt really, and then her excitement, it was cute. At the same time, just like, you don't know what you're getting yourself into, do you? And I love the more than anything, Duke is like,
don't do it.
Don't do it, honey. You don't know what you're getting into. And I was like, no, let her have it. Let her have her match. And Duke is like, big no, don't do it. And I like that even with like that, because it adds to the storyline of like he's looking out for them too at the same time, especially with Thea. So I thought it was like really well done the way this happens. But it just made me laugh as well.
Andre's absolutely going to turn on Duke at some point over Tia Hale. I guarantee it. It's going to be something over Tia that Duke's trying to protect her, and something's going to happen, and Andre's going to lose it. We get Idris Enofe. Well, I'm sorry. I skipped a major portion of this TikTok. We had a TikTok dance between Jakara, I think is her name.
No, that's Amari Miller.
No, oh, was it Amari Miller?
Yeah.
They're not on TV enough for me to. They're not enough. They're not on TV enough for me to remember who they are. But it was one of the girls dancing with Sol Ruka, and the only reason why I knew that her name was Sol Ruka is because they put it on the screen for me so I could remember it. She's the extra Charlotte Flair. She has half the talent and twice as much enthusiasm. But they're doing their TikTok dance, and back behind them at a hot live event, apparently we have some kind of issue between JBBJ and Idris Enofe and Malik Blade, which leads to a match later on. And I'm like, cool. And then we get Zion Quinn in the ring, and I'm like, oh, well, this is disappointing. But it wasn't disappointing, because when we come back from commercial break, it's Tony D'Angelo. Now, this was fine. It did its job. The post-match was way more important than anything that the match did. But before we get to the post-match, I just want to have a discussion. I really want to have a discussion. Zion Quinn. Remember when he was almost in Legado del Fantasma? Remember when this guy was really important? And we were like, this guy has a big future. This guy is all set. He's on the rocket to the top. And now he's jobbing to Tony D'Angelo. What? We give NXT a lot of credit. In the past, we've given them a lot of credit for knowing how to utilize young talent. I'm going to criticize them now. You've not utilized Zion Quinn in any remote respect in the way that he could be. This guy got over in a segment that you didn't intend for him to get over with Robbie E, with Mr. Stone. He got over in that segment, and it got him into a feud with Legado del Fantasma. And you put him in there with Santos Escobar, and they were doing incredible work. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, that storyline kind of just stopped. And Zion Quinn went away. And he came back, and he was never quite the same. And I really feel like, yes, Santos needed to win that feud, and he did, and that's fine. But they did something wrong to Zion Quinn coming out of that feud that's really hurt him going forward. Can it be fixed? Absolutely. You can fix anything and everybody. Anybody who says that he's completely buried is wrong. That being said, this isn't good for him either. While I'm doing that, why don't you go ahead and talk about Zion Quinn and then the post-match for this match?
No, yeah, I was going to say, going back to your point, I agree with that, because it's kind of weird to think about going back in time and just thinking the best thing Zion has had has been a feud with Legado that didn't even finish. Let's point that out first, because it didn't really finish properly. And then a karaoke segment. Those are the two best things he has done in NXT. Let's have a moment of silence for what's happened. I saw him and I went, no. Like I said, I've been like him and Indi around the same time. I kept saying I wanted to have some kind of direction for the characters. You see, Indi, I started picking up a couple wings and talking about what happened today later on. And in him, just there. He's there 1 week and they're backstage on the next one, and then he's absent for who knows how long. Sometimes I forget that he's there until he shows up again. And that's not good either. And this match, I was thinking, oh, it'll be like a couple minutes, hopefully. No, it was not enough. But yeah, like you said, the post-match part was the most interesting part of this whole thing. That promo from Tony, focusing on himself and Wes and Dijak, and just mixing it up between all three of them, and just like, oh, this is what's coming up next between them, is really interesting. So I was more focused on that. I even forgot sometimes that the match even happened, because it felt so quickly. It was something that I did not expect, but it happened. But now it'll be Tony versus West pretty soon, maybe with Dijak involved as well, which is already interesting, whether it's a one-on-one or a three-way. Good either way.
Yeah, the promo segment was pretty simple. Tony D'Angelo was talking about how he's back and now he wants to get back in that North American title picture, the picture that Wesley took him out of when he injured him in the tournament to get into the match to potentially be the champion that Wesley ended up winning to become the champion. So it's a built-in story between him and Tony D'Angelo. But you've already started this Dijak stuff, and last week you had Dijak outside with Tony D'Angelo. It looks like we're headed to a three-way. I kind of hope we get a one-on-one between Tony D'Angelo and Wesley first, or we get a one-on-one between Wesley and Dijak first, and then Tony inserts himself. I honestly don't care which way. Going back to Cameron Grimes versus was it Wesley versus who was it? It was Carmelo Hayes, Cameron Grimes, and who was the third? Solo Sikoa. Wasn't it? The one we said we didn't care what combination of them we had as long as we kept having those matches.
Yeah.
I think that was the three. I really like those three. Those three worked, and this is the same thing. Wesley versus Dijak is going to be a really, really fun match when it eventually happens. Tony D'Angelo is one of the best characters in NXT. It's going to take some time to get him back there since he has no family anymore. And all he has is Stax, whom I almost didn't recognize last week. I say almost. I didn't recognize until he said that I'm with the Dawn that I recognized it was Stax. I thought it was an extra. But no, the promo was pretty solid. Tony D'Angelo calls out Wesley, drags on Wesley. Wesley comes out and interrupts him, goes ahead and says that he has to deal with Dijak first, but then Tony D'Angelo can, have his way once he's done, if that's what Tony D'Angelo wants. And then Dijak gets up there and says, Wesley, keep my name out of your mouth. You want to go ahead and feud with Tony? I don't care. I'll get you when you least expect it. I'm going to decimate the two of you. It was really good. It set up a triple threat in the future. It set up 2 single matches in the future. Hell, could have set up 3 singles matches in the future. Yeah. I see Stax at some point getting absolutely obliterated by Dijak in a match too. So maybe it's 4 matches. Anyways, no matter how many matches it is, it's a nice little combined group of guys that I'm excited to see on my television screen. Backstage, we have Hank Walker challenging Charlie Dempsey to a match, and then Hank Walker makes his way to the ring. That shouldn't be as hard to say as it was. But first, when we come back, we get scripts. I'm going to be honest. I put scripts promo. Reggie talking about not much of anything. I don't understand why we know that it's Reggie, why Scripps has to be shrouded in darkness. Like, he's not even a creepy character. Why is he still shrouded in darkness? When everybody knows who he is, why are we pretending like we don't know who he is? Like, why is he some, mysterious... He's not the SmackDown hacker. Like, he doesn't have to be shrouded in secrecy. Like, we know it's Reggie. We watched him wrestle. There's nobody else in the world that wrestles like that other than Reggie. Except maybe a few people in New Japan that I can't think of. That being said, it was a promo. Did you remember anything of this that you actually want to talk about?
No, I tried to write it down. I tried to find the video. I couldn't find the video. The only thing that stood out to me that somebody tweeted it is that he said he will target the chosen ones. But just I keep thinking about it this way. Reggie's not scary. Whether he's Reggie or Scripps, he's not scary either way. So just if it's supposed to sound threatening, because it really doesn't. I'm sorry, Reggie. And when this came up and it was the whole room was dark, I was like, oh, who the heck is this? Somebody new. I was ready to type name, everything, and then I just see Scripps. I was like, never mind. You're just I feel like it canceled out all the excitement that I had in just 1 seconds. I had hope for the Scripps thing because of the way it came up. I like the mystery behind it and the way the person was talking and the soliloquy and the rhyming, all that stuff. It was interesting up until the reveal. So at this point, I am totally disappointed with anything that happens there with Scripps. So yeah, when I saw this, like, is this supposed to scare me? Because even if I was somebody in the NXT roster and I hear this promo, I really wouldn't care. It wouldn't scare me at all. Sorry.
Yeah, it made absolutely no sense to me. It didn't seem to work. It doesn't seem scary. It's just a little bit of nothing. Poor Reggie. We then get the Charlie Dempsey versus Hank Walker match. I say match. Hank Walker did a couple things, and Charlie Dempsey stretched him for a while. I audibly cried out in pain when Charlie Dempsey started pushing his kneecap the wrong way. That looked like it hurt a whole heck of a lot. Booker T referred to Charlie Dempsey as a hooker because it's an old-fashioned term for a wrestler who's a catch-as-catch-can style on the ring mat grappler. They're the old-timey term for them are hookers. I thought it was funny because I definitely think Booker T was thinking of something else when he said that. The most important thing about, again, there's a lot of matches that were like, this match happened. The most important thing about this match is something else that had nothing to do with the match. In this case, Drew Gulak returns to NXT. I say returns because I consider the NXT Evolve show, Drew Gulak being part of NXT for a little bit. But Drew Gulak comes back and he watches this match and Charlie Dempsey wins and he goes away. I would love to see Drew Gulak come back down to NXT and reform Catchpoint. For those of you who don't know, Catchpoint was a faction that Drew Gulak used to run while he was in Evolve that had various members throughout their time. And I'm just getting the list up now of the other people. I know one of which was the match they had at the Evolve special was Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle was part of the Catchpoint team. And, it's a fun thing. Gulak needs to be a teacher. He fits so perfectly in NXT. Also, can we please, Papa Shawn Michaels, can I please have Drew Gulak versus Andre Chase? Like, please, because that would be a whole lot of fun. Can you imagine the promos that would go with Andre Chase trying to have a teachable moment with Drew Gulak while Gulak's trying to do a PowerPoint presentation? Like that,
or have Drew as a teacher in a backstage segment during a class.
Yeah, have him
with
come and try to, and have him come and teach at Chase U with his PowerPoint presentation. Just quickly going back because Barry Monkey said it, and I want to go back to it because we're not going to get back to Reggie at all. They need to announce him as the 38-time WWE champion without mentioning it's a 24/7 one. Well, I mean, that's our truth. Let's be true. That's our truth, and our truth is a delight, and he's still recovering from his surgery. But when it comes to Reggie, I don't think it was 38. I think it was 3 or 4. I don't think he won it that many times.
I lost count.
It doesn't really matter. But yeah, no, I mean, poor Reggie. He's talented. He could be doing more. Talk to me about the Charlie Dempsey match. Talk to me a little bit more about what you think about how Hank Walker held up in the Charlie Dempsey match and what you're excited for with having Drew Gulak pop up tonight.
Well, I like the beginning, having Walker show up, really his power. But Charlie, something I wasn't expecting, that it would be more of like Charlie taking over from beginning to end of the match. So I like that part of it first. And that submission at the end, holy crap, did it look nasty on TV, the way they portrayed it. I just like having Gulak there. I feel like it added something interesting to the table because it's somebody I didn't expect to see here. Not only that, but him and Charlie, I think it'll be interesting as well going forward. What if they make some kind of stable too? That'll be pretty interesting to see on TV too. So it just made me like wonder what else would happen next and how they're gonna give it to us in the next couple of weeks. Because I'm really interested because going to the new year, that's probably it. So I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to that part of it. And yeah, that was pretty much it. I think it was interesting the way they portrayed Hank. I don't understand why they keep giving him this like random matches here and there instead of just sitting him out with a storyline with somebody for like a couple of weeks. And just like something happens one match and he's like pretty much over after that. Like, don't know what really he does with that.
I'm hoping that there's something more to this. Like maybe Gulak brings him in and tries to teach him. Just to go back through it, because I did go ahead and look it up. The stable for Catchpoint included Tracy Hot Sauce Williams, Matt Riddle, Fred Yeehee, Chris Dickinson, Jaka, Dominic Garani, Stokely Hathaway, otherwise known as who was he? He was the guy in Diamond Mine. Why can't I remember his WWE? Malcolm Bivens. And then TJ Perkins and Drew Gulak. That was Catchpoint. They were on the indie scene, but more importantly, they were part of the Evolve promotion for the most part. And they had a good time. As one of the comments said on there, it's one of the best stables of wrestlers that have zero personality. And it's really true. Other than Malcolm Bivens, that's really not an unfair statement. Of the wrestlers I know on that list, no offense, Tracy Williams, you are an incredible wrestler with zero personality. But we then get the Zoe Stark segment, where she talks about how she's going to win because, this year is all about her. As my note says, Zoe cuts a promo about being dead weight. I think she was talking about trying to shed the dead weight, but I just heard it that she is dead weight. Anybody who tries to call Nikita Lyons dead weight is obviously crazy. So I can't wait for Zoe Stark to lose this match because of Nikita Lyons on Saturday.
Yeah, that's what I kept thinking. And the one thing that I noticed when she says, like, this is the time that I don't have to be a big sister to anybody or a mentor to anybody. This is like the time that's for myself, which I liked having like that focus on her. But I kept thinking after that line, I kept thinking, yeah, Nikita is definitely getting in there and not helping you at all. Gotcha.
Yeah. She was doing a really good job at making it a really interesting promo where I thought she might win this match until she said dead weight. And I'm like, yep, that's the sign that Nikita's going to cost you this match.
Mm-hmm.
We then had Grayson Waller hyping up the Waller effect. It was fine. He went back and forth with Mackenzie. Him and Mackenzie have really good chemistry together. He talked about him being able to do her job better than she can, which is why they have to have the Grayson Waller effect, as opposed to having her out there asking them questions. Mm. It was fun. It didn't take long, and it did what it needed to do. Mm-hmm. Now we get to one of the best parts of the night. And not for the reason that everybody's going to assume. Although the one thing I will say is during the end of the Grayson Waller segment, you heard the Pretty Deadly music start and then stop and then restart once they came back to the camera. It was funny. I thought it was great. We have the Pretty Deadly Christmas story. This was really, really fun. I really enjoyed this. I liked how they said that they wrote their own Christmas story and then started reciting word for word the Christmas story, which was great. But they did eventually end up changing it, which is good. And they had an interesting story talking about how they've beaten everybody. There's nobody left for them. Really calling out the fact that it's a light division for tag teams and that they've run through them all. And unless you're going to bring in new tag teams for them to face from NXT UK, from the main roster, randomly pairing people together and throwing them up against Pretty Deadly, there was really nobody left for them to face. And then the New Day came out. And I got excited. More importantly, the PC got excited. The CWC was very, very excited to see the New Day because they had no clue that they were coming. And the New Day challenged the Pretty Deadly to a tag team title match on Saturday. Do you think there's any chance in the world that the New Day get a short reign with the NXT Tag Team Championships?
I feel like if it was early, like a while ago, I would have said hell no. But after Zine Ziggler win the title, I feel like anything is possible after I saw this. I kept thinking, who's going to show up here? Because we had teams like Gallus who got all of a sudden like
They're
Oh, the
suspended.
suspended. Yeah, and then nowhere is to be seen afterwards. And then, like they said, they have gone through a lot of people, not only during the like PLEs, but on a weekly basis too. So I was like, okay, so where's this headed? Who's really gonna come out and face them? Was not expecting New Day. That was not on my bingo card for this year, so that was nice to see. Um, but it also like made me think of like think about it this way: they have nobody else that they had to bring somebody from the main roster down to really face them from one show, and and that's it because they have nobody else built up enough to face them, which is kind of like. But the one part that I noticed that I messaged you while this was happening is that when after everything happens, Kofi and Xavier are picking up the tag titles from the throne or whatever that they had there for the set, and then Booker T goes, "Hell no, hell no," and then Vic is like, "Yeah, shucky ducky, quack quack," and he's like, "Hell no, hell no." It looks like they were having different conversations. It just made me laugh, but why?
I did love Booker T saying "shucky ducky, quack quack, bye" and stops. Because I guarantee you the next 2 words are black ass. I guarantee you those are the next 2 words out of his mouth. And he realizes he really shouldn't say that on NXT.
I was torn because like I said, it's like I like having the New Day there, but it's also thinking, like there's nobody's in NXT's face pretty deadly at this point. But I just like having that reaction from Booker, I was like, holy crap, why the hell no? Like this is something exciting, something new. And it's like I said, it's a surprise that nobody expected. So it'll be a lot of people will probably tune in because they like New Day just to watch this match, and that's good for the numbers for the last PLE of the year for WWE like as a whole.
Yeah.
So I thought it was interesting that reaction was like, hold on, like what did they do to you? And then Vic is like all excited, and then Booker's like, hell no, no, hell no. And that's all you kept saying. And I'm like, okay, like why do you hate New Day so much? That's interesting. But it's just like I'm excited for it. I feel like it's something new, something unexpected. I'm looking forward to it. I feel bad for the comments from Booker during this more than anything.
Yeah. Barry had sent a comment in earlier that was a little. I understood what Barry was trying to say, but he's reworded it to say it a lot easier. I think Pretty Deadly have a big future, and so does WWE, judging by the fact that they were given the New Day. I wholeheartedly agree. This is Triple H and Shawn Michaels putting their rubber stamp on Pretty Deadly as a team for the future. These guys are here. They're here to stay, and they're going to be getting one of the best tag teams in the world. If Pretty Deadly don't have a good performance on Saturday, that could be the end of them in WWE. That sounds hyperbolic, and I really don't mean it that way. But if you can't have a good tag team match with the New Day, you can't have a good tag team match, period. These guys are great. I enjoy them. I still don't understand them. I don't get them. But you know what? I don't have to get them because they're heels. And I can boo them because they're cocky and they're arrogant and they think they're better than everybody. I get that part. And that's all I need to get. Because you don't have to understand something to enjoy it as they're bad guys who are getting heat. And they got plenty of heat. And the New Day are going to come down here. And I honestly believe even if the New Day win, I think they go back and forth for a couple of weeks. I would love to see Indus Sher beat the New Day and take the NXT Tag Team Championships. And then have Indus Sher go on a run where they face the Creeds, where they face, Pretty Deadly and other teams, Idris Sanofe and Malik Blade, JBBJ. And you can have them start running through the tag team division until Gallus comes back or somebody else that's big and bad that can come back. But I wouldn't mind seeing the New Day with a short title run here. It was fantastic. I agree with you. The Booker T being so upset about it, I think Booker has been told to play the role that we were getting from Wade Barrett with that they love the Pretty Deadly. And that's why he's angry that the New Day is here. It seemed out of left field. I mean, granted, it was way out of left field that they brought in the New Day, which shows, but like Barry says, it shows the confidence that the company has in them to be like, because think about it. Braun Breaker got Dolph Ziggler because he needed a big name to help push him over to get the crowd behind him. Mission accomplished. Grayson Waller, they see immensely talent in Grayson Waller. They see big things for him, both Shawn Michaels and Triple H. What do? They give him AJ Styles. What else do? They put him on Raw. What else do? People forget this. Grayson Waller played Roman Reigns in Logan Paul's training for the match at Crown Jewel. When Logan Paul was at the PC training for the match against Roman, the person they chose to be there, to be the counterpart to play Roman Reigns, was Grayson Waller. They could have had Dolph Ziggler. They could have had Apollo Crews, who's probably a better build for Roman Reigns. Hell, they probably could have got Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker can probably do Roman Reigns pretty darn good. But they got Grayson Waller because they believe in him that much. This is them believing in Pretty Deadly. I can see this match going both ways. I can see the New Day losing this match and putting over Pretty Deadly. I can see Pretty Deadly cheating to win and winning this match. I can see the New Day winning this match and taking the tag team titles. And then having Pretty Deadly try to do something to get them back. Or having, like I said, Indi Share, I think is a great team to just go through the New Day. Because you can have them decimate the New Day and then send the New Day back to Raw and SmackDown. Yeah. Going into the Rumble. Because New Day's got nothing to do right now. There's one set of tag titles. They just lost their chances at them. They really have nothing left to do until Rumble time. So you've got 8 weeks. You've got plenty of time to have them down there for a month, reigning with these championships and then losing them to somebody like Indi Share, losing them back to Pretty Deadly, and continuing a great story and giving one of those two tag teams or both of those tag teams a really fun match and a nice rub on their way out the door. There's no bad to having the New Day here. And if anybody says that this is burying the NXT tag division, it's not. This is about showing you how talented the NXT tag division is because they're bringing the New Day down. Yes, they're bringing them down for ratings too. But you know what? The reason why it's not all a big ratings grab, if it were a ratings grab, we would have known last night that the New Day was coming to NXT. They didn't tell us. It wasn't about ratings. Yes, it's about popping the PLE. It's absolutely about making sure people watch the PLE, but it had nothing to do with ratings tonight because if it did, we would have known ahead of time. We then had Isla Dawn cutting a promo for her match. This was fun because she basically said that she was going to destroy Tia Hale, and I was very happy. We then get Mackenzie Mitchell running up to and stopping Big Body Javi. And she's telling him that she thinks he's a coward and a chicken. And he's trying to play it off. No, I'm hurt. This, that, and the other thing. And all these random people are going backstage. And again, like, I'm going to go back up to Barry's comment earlier about Cora Jade. Because it's very interesting. Cora Jade having a personality would be a revelation because I tend to start listening and watching her and then get distracted by paint drying. You want to know what happened in this segment? I got distracted from Big Body Javi because I give zero craps about him to random people in the background walking behind him and going to a room. One of those people, the person who saved the segment, I'm going to say something nice. For those of you who know NXT, this is surprising. I was so happy to see Ika Manjiro because at least he has a personality. He was funny. They asked him about, Mackenzie says, did you see what this guy did? Javier, she asked him what his thoughts were on Javier Bernal, and he couldn't figure out who he was. And then Javi says, no, what do you think about Big Body Javi? And he says, big body chicken, and laughs, and Mackenzie agrees, and Big Body Javi gets all mad and runs off. And that's the end of the segment. I want to like Javier Bernal. They're not making it easy. But this is developmental. And this is where people learn and get better. He's learning. He's getting better. I really hope that they continue giving him an opportunity. I want to see what he can do in the ring because I think that will be something more impressive than what we've gotten so far. because I saw him against Axiom and it wasn't terrible. But there needs to be more. We then get to Tia Hale getting absolutely demolished by Isla Dawn. This was fantastic. It didn't last nearly long enough. I could have watched this for another 20 minutes. Isla Dawn literally rinsed and dried Tia Hale in this match. I don't think Tia Hale got any offense in at all whatsoever. Isla Dawn has a very cool entrance too, by the way. They really did a good job making her feel special. She feels different than everybody else. She's got like an on-screen video that plays before cutting to the arena as a whole, before having a cool like stage vignette with some decent music. It was fun. I really enjoyed it. What were your thoughts on the appearance of Isla Dawn here, how she wrestled, how she worked? I know you're a little bit familiar with her from writing the reviews for Women's Wrestling Talk when it comes to NXT and NXT UK when it was still around. So you've seen enough of her to make a judgment. But what did you think about it? Was there any change from what she was in NXT UK to her new persona here in NXT?
And I feel like you said the entrance is a really big detail that it wasn't part of NXT UK from the episodes I saw, at least. So it was a good presentation there. I also like the little details, like during the match, she kept looking over at Andre Chase and at Duke of like, this is what I'm doing to her. Like, this is what you wanted to happen because you let the match happen. And then Duke is looking over at Andre like, see, this is what I told you. Don't do this. And Andre's looking at him and then looking at Thea looking guilty about it. I thought it was pretty interesting how little details like that can tell you so much just by the way they're looking at each other. But overall, I just like this was already interesting enough having Isla come in like this. And as we were talking about earlier, this is when Alba comes in, attacks her afterwards. That Booker has no memory of what happened. But yeah, I thought it was pretty well done the way they built it up. So I'm looking forward to their match already.
I don't know if they're still here, but in the Hot Seat podcast at this earlier, and I was saving it for now. I didn't miss it. I just wanted to save it for when we were talking about them again. Isla Dawn versus Alba Fire is my favorite feud already. I'm very excited for this match coming up at the PLE. This match at Deadline is going to be fantastic. We didn't need a huge deal to make this match happen because the storytelling had already been done. We told the story in the match when Isla Dawn screws Alba Fire out of the championship. The next week, we had Isla Dawn cutting a vignette, told us everything we needed to know about why she's after Alba Fire. The week after that, we had an Alba Fire promo where she says, I'm ready to go ahead and fight her. This is really cool. You know, like you messed the wrong girl and I'm coming after you. And this week they have a confrontation face to face. They get into the fisticuffs and boom, a match is set. This is pinpoint storytelling accuracy from point A to point B to point C to Deadline is going to be point D. It's just every little beat. They've hit the storyline. And like you said, in this match, Isla Dawn managed to get storytelling into a squash match. The storytelling with all of the Chase U stuff was given to Isla Dawn. And she's like, sure, I can manage that. And like you said, she constantly looked over at them and went ahead and just dealt with it. Such a good job by Isla Dawn in this. Alba Fire versus Isla Dawn is going to be amazing on the PLE. Barry Monkey jumps in and says, I've never seen Isla Dawn before. She seems like a solid wrestler, good in-ring worker that can really benefit the roster. Yeah. NXT UK has a lot of these. You've never seen them before, but look out for them. They're really great people and they're really good at what they do. Like for those who need, a slight refresher of the talent that have come over from NXT UK that have managed to come through. Bea Priestley, otherwise known as Blair Davenport in NXT. Rhea Ripley, Toni Storm, Alba Fire / Kaylee Ray. She didn't do a whole lot of the main roster, but Piper Niven / Dewdrop. These are 5 key women who have come over from NXT UK. And I only include Blair Davenport in that list as a key person to come over because she was immediately put into the program with Mandy Rose and she was immediately put into the program with Miko Satomura. If that doesn't tell you about what WWE thinks of her and her talent, nothing else is going to. Thank you for joining us, Shout Out to Cloud. we're here talking about NXT, so hopefully you continue to join us. I've seen you in other streams before, so I'm glad you're here. We also had the Kiana James from Accounting promo. Kiana James had her promo here where she talks about why she's going to win. It seemed more like a business meeting with G. And G had a notice that needed to go to JBBJ, and we see that. We only know that's where it's meant to go because it has the big logo on it that says JBBJ. So that was nice. And we all know who that was meant for, and we saw shortly after why. Conveniently, we then move into the entrance for JBBJ. But wait, first, we get promo number 2 from Bird Lady. Her name is Valkyria, right?
Lyra Valkyria.
Yeah, Bird Lady.
She's also from NXT UK. I didn't get to watch her when I was watching it though, so I'm definitely gonna have to go back and watch some of her stuff. But yeah, I was not expecting her to just come next week. We have 2 weeks of the promo and that's it. I thought it was gonna end up being a little bit longer than that. But yeah, just interesting how she'll fit in with the rest of the ladies here. That's what I'm looking forward to seeing the most.
I've not seen this one, so I'm very interested to see what her talent level is. I'm excited to see. I give her crap, Bird Lady. The promos haven't done enough for me to really get her over the way that I think that they should, especially considering what the Isla Dawn promos were versus what the Lyra promos are. Like, it just seems like, how can you do it so right with one of them and then make me so confused about the other one? That being said, speaking of NXT UK, you have an interview with somebody from NXT UK that if they go to your Twitter, they can go ahead and leave you questions as you interview
Molly, the French Hope.
Yes. So go ahead and go to Astrid's Twitter, which will be at the bottom of the page later on in the show, to go ahead and ask your questions for Amale, as Astrid will be interviewing her later this week. We then get JBBJ versus Idris Enofe with their friend Odyssey Jones on the outside. I mean, this was a match. It had a start, it had a middle, and it had an end. The end couldn't come fast enough.
Really? Really? I didn't know that.
Some matches don't have a middle. Some matches just have a beginning and an end. This one had a middle, unfortunately. This match did nothing for me. The backstage thing that they did, like, cool. I like that you're using house show backstage stuff to set up matches. I don't think it worked for 2 babyface teams who are just fighting for respect. Especially a Booker out there yelling and screaming about how all these teams need to fight for themselves and not worry about teams and not worry about anything else. And this match was all about telling story. Not the story of this match. They could care less about the story of these 2 teams. It's all about the story of Jensen getting the letter from G, which we later find out in a few minutes what that's all about. And then Von Wagner comes out and attacks Odyssey Jones, which gets Idris Enofe confused, and he gets distracted, so JBBJ can pick up the victory. Obviously, I thought this match was absolutely fine, I guess. Did you have any opinions other than it happened?
No, I think just the ending itself was my favorite part, because you just said, like you said, Vaughn coming in, taking care of Odyssey, the distraction, and they took Jensen, took Malik and kind of blocked him from breaking up the pin and having that win there. And Jensen even getting distracted by G putting in the envelope, and I think it was his jacket, if I'm not mistaken. But just like the little details of what happened, the Vaughn Odyssey storyline, the match happening and the invitation happening at the same time. But just like the ending, I was like, other than that, I'm like, oh, okay. I don't know why this really happened.
After this, we get the best of the 4 women's promos. As I have it here written in my notes, Roxanne versus the Man in the Mirror. To have a Michael Jackson reference here. But But no, Roxanne talks about how the only person who can stop her this Saturday at Deadline is the person that she's looking at in the mirror. And the person she's looking at is herself. So the only person who can stop her is herself. It was fine. Again, I think all four of these, this is the fourth and final one. Thank God it's the fourth and final one. I really think these would have all been better just played one after the other on Saturday night as the video package for this match. Because, God, if I have to listen to Shawn Michaels try to recite the rules of this match one more time, I'm going to punch something.
Well, you're not going to get it once, but twice in one night, I bet.
I really hope they don't have to play that Shawn Michaels clip of him reading the rules again. Because it's the worst part is it doesn't even sound like Shawn understands the rules of the match. Like, he stutters halfway through. Like, it's an edited thing, and it still has him stuttering his way through the rules of the match.
Plus, if you notice, he's not even looking at the camera. He's looking like down here. What it's happening is like I'm reading the instructions from here, but the camera's right there.
He's reading the teleprompter because he can't remember the match. By the way, for anybody who does not know the rules of the match, I will quickly run over them because we heard it 5 times tonight. 2 people will start this match, either 2 men or 2 women, depending on which match we're watching at the time. Every 5 minutes, a new competitor will enter the match. You can get a fall by pinfall, submission, or disqualification. If you get a pinfall, a disqualification, or a submission, you score 1 point, and the person who you pinned, submitted, or got disqualified will have to go to the penalty box for 90 seconds. However, this match doesn't end when one person gets 1 fall. No. After the third person comes out, 2 more individuals come out after 5 more minute segments. After 15 minutes into this match, we'll have all 5 competitors in the match for 10 minutes. And in those 10 minutes, we will find out at the end. I'm sorry, not during those 10 minutes. At the end of those 10 minutes, the person with the most falls will be considered the Iron Survivor. And that person will be the #1 contender for the respective NXT championship of their gender, whether it be male or female. See, Sean, it's not that hard. And if I take 5 seconds, I can edit that and cut out all the parts where I screwed up things and make it look seamless, like I wasn't stuttering all over everything. We then get JBBJ and Fallon backstage as she's getting ready for her big match. And this is where Jensen notices that he's going to go ahead and open the envelope in front of Fallon Henley, which seems like a bad idea. It's a ticket thing that says VIP on it. And apparently it's a ticket to Deadline.
As I was thinking, you're already a talent. You don't need a ticket to go in. Give it to me.
Yeah. That was the part of this that I didn't like either.
I was waiting for it.
He's a talent.
It's like getting invited to my own party.
No. It's worse than getting invited to your own party because he's not even on the card. It's not even that cool. Like, it's even worse. Astrid's mom just had a birthday, so I'm going to do it this way. It's like getting invited to your mom's birthday that you're throwing.
Yeah.
It was... Unless the VIP seats are in the Toxic Lounge.
I was thinking that too. I was like, are we going to get like a VIP section with him walking there? Because I thought that would be funny, though, to see that.
That would be great. If that's what it turns out to, I will take back everything I'm saying here, and it'll be great. Like, if he's overlooking this, like the match, it'll be great. But if not, it's stupid. The best part is Fallon gets very upset because she says when she wins this match, she'll be in the match, and then that they'll be able to go to Deadline that way. Again, they're talents. They can show up at the pay-per-view, whether they're on the card or not, whether she's on the card or not. They just have to show up. They can be backstage.
Apparently not.
Ask Naomi. Naomi's been backstage for the last couple of weeks, apparently, hanging out with her husband and her family, the Usos and the Bloodline, and all the wonderful people that are part of that. She's been backstage. Ain't nobody made any noise about that, where she had to have a ticket.
Goodbye.
What?
Are we done? No, we're not trash talking Naomi. Next.
I'm not trash talking Naomi. I'm saying at least she didn't have to have a ticket to show up backstage. She was smart.
Mm-hmm.
She just showed up.
Next.
I'm more excited to see Naomi back than Sasha, just so we're clear.
Wait, did you not hear the line of the night that he said though? That was my favorite line, I'll say.
Yes, the next line, the next thing in my notes was so Briggs looks at Jensen, he goes, "Why did you do that? You just made her mad." And he's like, "Well, guess what? She wrestles better when she's mad."
I love that though.
We're going to quickly find out that's not the case, because the next thing we have is the women's triple threat, in which Wendy Choo hits Fallon Henley with her finish, and then Indi Hartwell throws her out of the ring and steals the win. So no, Jensen, you were wrong. She does not wrestle better angry. This match was fun. It wasn't great. It had the terrible, as you said earlier, it had that weird trope where somebody was outside the ring and you would notice they were outside of the ring.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I hated about this match compared to the opener, because there was always that moment of like, there was a couple of times that all three of them were together, but Indi was outside a little bit too long compared to the other two girls, and that's what made me think Indi's winning it, because that's what happens when like there's that one person that it's in the Rumble, it's a big break outside, and then they come in and then they win it. So it just made me think of that. And every time I saw her out of the ring, I was like, nope, this is. I wish I could have counted how many times she was out of the ring compared to inside of the ring. But just that moment when it happened too many times, I was like, yep, it's Indi. It's Indi. I can see it. I wish, though, I love Wendy Choo. You guys know that I'm Wendy Choo. But I wish, though, it would have been the other way around, of like Fallon doing the move on Wendy and her pinning Wendy instead of Fallon. Because I feel like Fallon had been getting, even if she, in her losses, like her performances were showing out so much that I feel like this killed whatever she had going on right now. That's how I felt like me enjoying Fallon and her performances lately. That's the only downfall for me at the end of the match. It's like, no, it couldn't happen the other way around. Wendy didn't have anything going on for her at the moment. So it would have made more sense for her to get pinned in that Fallon for me. But either way, I knew that whoever won this, I was going to be happy either way, because they were going to join the match. I kind of wanted Fallon to win more than anybody, but I was happy either way. But yeah, I just had a feeling that was Indi from the get-go, and it started happening too much. It's just like, yeah, it's you, isn't it? Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, this is another way of NXT. Now, NXT only had they had 2 women's matches on this show, but you got to remember, they had 4 segments where they did the things about the women and the Iron Survivor. The women had the main event match. Like the final match of the night was a women. Now, granted, it wasn't the main event segment. That was the Waller effect. But they had the main event match of the night. They were the last match to happen, which is important. I think that the women you showcased a lot of the women in the women's division this week. Mm-hmm. Going into a PLE, they showcased exactly who they needed to. And coming out of this pay-per-view, we already have a debut of a new women's talent coming in. So things are looking up for this women's division in NXT. I say up. It's continuing to be at the high level that they continuously put it at. Slightly lower than last week, but not bad. After the match, we have Indi Hartwell up there as Mandy Rose is talking to Toxic Attraction, trying to figure out if they're even going to be at Deadline. Please, Mandy, I need you to go to the show.
She needs to get an invitation to go in.
She's the women's champion. She doesn't need an invitation to go anywhere. That championship is all the invitation she needs. And if she needs an invitation, I'll handwrite one and send it to her on Instagram. It's fine. Don't worry. I got you, Mandy. Anyways, Indi comes up and confronts her and says that, okay, I love Indi Hartwell. She really got into this promo, but she screwed up a big portion of this promo. I think you know what I'm going to say, right?
Probably.
Okay. Indi Hartwell makes a very big point to say that Saturday is her night. That on Saturday night, she's going to win, and that's going to be her night. And then she says, and I quote, "You can have every other night, Mandy, but on Saturday night, it's mine." Great, Indi. So you've just told the women's champion, the forever champion, the champion of almost 400. No, she's now past 400 plus days. She's coming close to Shayna Baszler's title reign, and she's getting closer and closer. You've just told the women's champion that you don't care if you win the match with her that you earn when you win on Saturday. She can have that night. She can beat you on that night because you're going to win on Saturday. I like Indi. Indi's great. That seemed like a miss. What do you think?
And not only that, but I don't know if it was me, but I don't know if she was like if she was winded because it was after the match, but she was talking so fast that at first, like sometimes it felt like she was making no sense, but making sense at the same time. I know that's weird to say, but it just like not only that comment, but like that comment of like, I don't care where you watch it, whether you go there or you watch it on Peacock or whatever. Okay, why do you have to say it like that? And not only that, but I had to type it. She goes, clock starts ticking at the end, ticking on the end of your title race. Something about the clock ticking at the end of the title once the clock ticks after the match. I'm just like, there's too much ticking in here. What the heck happened? I feel like the way she said it happened so quickly that I went, what did you just say? I feel like it made no sense because, I don't know, the delivery of it wasn't it. It's like it could have just said, like, the clock is ticking for the end of your title reign. That was it. But I feel like too much of like going back and forth, and I don't know what it was. It didn't sound correctly, and it sounded weird when she said it. And I was like, I don't like that. And I love Mandy looked at her like, okay. Like Mandy didn't even look like phased by it, to be honest. And I was like, yeah, I wouldn't have either if I was Mandy. But it just like, I don't know what it was, but everything that she said, like it's what you said earlier. She said a whole nothing basically when she was talking. That's how it felt like to me, unfortunately. And I like Indi too. I'm a big Index fan, and you guys know that. But yeah, this wasn't it. When I heard it, I was like, I wish you could redo that.
If we're going to talk about the good stuff, we also have to criticize the things that don't work. The most important thing I talk about here is we all know I'm not a big AEW person. I don't watch a whole lot of AEW. I haven't seen a whole lot of AEW.
Really?
I don't watch a whole lot of AEW. I don't like a lot of what happens on AEW, so I don't watch AEW. That being said, I will always say when AEW does good things right, that was something that they did right. This is something that they did wrong. And I try to be objective about it. Even though I'm not a huge fan of the product, I can be consistent down the line because you want to know what? If AEW does well, WWE is going to do well because the best part of wrestling is when there's competition. When both companies feel like they need to be better to go ahead and go to stand toe to toe. One of the best things about the Monday Night Wars, because the wrestling programs themselves weren't great, but you know what it was? Both companies were pushing each other to be better. Not always in the best ways, but they were pushing each other to be better. I want AEW to succeed. I want Ring of Honor to stay in business. I want Ring of Honor to get a TV deal. That being said, I don't watch a whole lot of that. But again, I have to be consistent. When good things happen, great. Talk about the good things. When bad things happen, I get the ability to say the bad things that are going on. It's part of the reason why you have to be consistent. I do the same thing here.
Thank you, Barry.
That's part of wrestling. Impact is doing so well. I love Impact. Impact is the little engine that could. That company has been around for so long. And so many times we have all said this company is going down the drain. And by the way, not only said it's going down the drain, it was literally about to go down the drain multiple times before somehow something saved it. I remember the stories of on a pay-per-view night, they didn't have the money to run the show on the pay-per-view that they promoted. And they were going to have to cancel the show until Billy Pumpkins came in and gave them the money to run the show. Now, Billy Pumpkins has done his own terrible stuff since then. Impact is great. And if you want to hear all the good things about Impact, Ash will tell you exactly where to find all of the good things that Barry already knows about finding on Thursday nights. Before we get finished here, I want to talk about Rogue Energy. Rogue Energy helps me keep going. It helps Astrid keep going. And they sponsor all the shows here at our local establishment. You can find them at rogueenergy.com. And if you use the promo code OLEPODS, the same promo code that's been at the bottom of the screen all night long, you can go ahead and get 10% off your order. They have starter packs, which are fantastic. You get a shaker cup and a couple different flavors to try. You can go ahead and you can get your bottles of your energy powders in all kinds of wonderful flavors. I know Mel has a bunch. I know Parrish has just started getting his, and he really likes his. Hell, Parrish even has a nice hat from them that he really likes. Go ahead and check out rogueenergy.com and use the promo code OLEPODS to get 10% off your order. They help us, so we want to help them. That being said, we get to the Grayson Waller effect. Did anything... Oh, crap.
Yeah, I gave you one, but there was one and I didn't say anything.
Is there anything worthwhile that came out of the Grayson Waller effect that we need to cover? 5 guys got in the ring. Well, 4 got in the ring, and 1 guy wore the wrong color that made him look like he wasn't there.
I'm just gonna make my funny story that I told you earlier. When this was advertised, I kept thinking in my mind, because Grayson's saying, "Oh, I'm gonna have the winner of the match, Gacy, Carmelo, and JD." Then obviously later on, because of the match, we know it's Axiom. So he listed basically like the 4 people, and I keep looking at them there, and I keep thinking, who's the 5th one? I said, he has 2 on this side, 2 on the other side. Where's the 5th one? Who's missing? I had to go to the Twitter account to remember that Grayson Waller is the 5th man that was right in the middle. Thank you, everybody. You can laugh at me now.
It's fine. There was a couple times in this segment where I was watching it, and I thought there was only 4 people in the segment, because Axiom was wearing... By the way, I don't love giving Grayson Waller credit for all of his lines. The line about having the balls to wear a turtleneck in Florida in December in 2022 was really, really funny. However, I really wish Axiom would have chosen a different color, because the black mask with the black turtleneck made it look like he wasn't there, because the entire background for the Waller effect is also black. It looked like there was just random face thing in there, because that's all you saw.
The only thing that I like to point out, it's when, I think it was Grayson, if I'm not mistaken, he tells Carmelo, "You've been protected by this company since the moment you got here." And I was like, oh, wait. I was like, wait, this is interesting. What's happening next? And I forgot who started mentioning it. But I know Carmelo responds back. He's like, "Oh, you won't know anything about lasting 25 minutes." And the way, like, all the guys reacted like, "Oh," but like things like that just made me laugh. And I think that was it. Like, more than anything, the part that I found the most impressive was JD headbutting Grayson the way he did. It's like, I know what's gonna come out of this, but just like that headbutt, I was like, holy crap, that caught me. Like, this startled me by when it happened. But it, like I said, this is something that I would have done without something like this. I feel like they gave us a whole lot of nothing at the same time. Just there were like maybe 2 lines that were like something that, oh, that's interesting. But other than that, this was like the girls like getting profiled through the whole night. This was something I could have done without. The girls should have just main evented. You could have just done this kind of backstage in an interview with Mackenzie. That was it. I feel like this could have been shorter than what it was, and it should have been the girls like really main eventing like as a segment there instead, and just ending it that way. But yeah, this was not what I hoped it would be, but it happened and it's over, thank God. But either way, I'm looking forward to the match.
The funny thing is, Carmelo almost said the exact same thing that you just said earlier. There was a tweet. I don't know if you saw it because I retweeted it. Carmelo's like, "We wanted to do this in the barber shop, but JD McDonough refused because we're going to charge him double because his head's so big." I think this would have really worked well in that barbershop environment that Carmelo has backstage, and that segment that he does in the barbershop with all his boys and Trick Williams. Mm-hmm. I really think the 5 of them really, especially having Axiom there with a mask on, would have been really interesting. Like having like Trick go, "Dude, how are we going to cut your hair? You ain't," like, have him not understand that it's a mask and be like, "Dude, where's your hair? We can't cut your hair without your," I think it would have been funny. Yeah,
and I don't know if I saw correctly, they did the Wakanda thing before he came out too, backstage with Trick, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I had to point it out, okay?
Not everything's a winner. But that was
this was not it.
No,
so.
That was this week's episode of NXT. Before we get on to our deadline prediction special, because we don't need a whole lot of time to go over that, we're going to go ahead and give Astrid's natural star rating of the night. And your natural star rating of the night for tonight's show is... I like how you think about this every week, even though this is a constant segment that we've done every week on this show.
I know, but I'm thinking of like what happened tonight, so that way I can, whether if I go negative or positive. But I do like a 4.5 because there was like little things of like the girls getting profiled that I could have done without in this segment too.
4.5 out of 5?
Yeah.
All right. I'd have given this a solid 3. It was a solid show, but it wasn't like 4.5 for me is like something special. Something special has to happen to give it a 4.5. I'm sorry, the New Day wasn't special enough. Booker T also brings this way down with the New Day coming in. Like, there's a lot of ups and downs in the show. Like, the New Day and Gulak are great, but you know, it's brought down by Booker. There's a couple other things that, like you said, the Grayson Waller stuff, you know, that Waller effect didn't really hit. The women's stuff, promoting the women's match, it was great. I like to see the women promoted and each one of them getting their own time and their own, you know. It's nice to see the women getting the main attention, giving each woman their individual moment to shine versus the men who are all in a big, you know, kerfuffle. That's nice because at least the women are getting the special stage. But like I said, I would have given it a 3. Barry does have a question though. What does the 1 in deadline stand for? Does anybody know?
We the ones. No, I'm kidding. I don't know.
Yes, we represent Roman Reigns. We the ones. No, I just think it's a funny thing to, you know, clock ticking numbers. So instead of having an I, you have a 1. I'm just glad deadline doesn't have a Z at the end because that's something that would have happened 20 years ago. Oh, it did happen. It's called Gang Rules.
Oh my.
There was a Survivor Series called Gang Rules, and it was spelled RULZZZ.
Yeah, I'm glad I wasn't watching that.
Yeah, I wish I wasn't watching that. All right. Deadline predictions. Isla Dawn versus Alba Fire.
I'm torn about that one. I'm going to do Alba for now.
I'm going to take Isla Dawn. I think it is way too soon to give Isla Dawn a loss. I think Alba Fire can eat a whole bunch more losses before she has to really... Like, I don't think anything bad happens if Isla Dawn wins this match. I think this is really good. So give me Isla Dawn, absolutely. The New Day versus Pretty Deadly for the Tag Team Championships. I am going to go that we are going to have new WWE NXT World Tag Team Champions with the New Day. What about you?
Yeah, I'm going New Day.
Barry thinks Isla Dawn is going to win. I know Barry's a little bit behind because the way Twitch works, the stream is always a little bit behind, so we're going to go ahead and keep an eye on that one. Do you think you said New Day is going to win?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're both on the same page there. We have the Women's Iron Survivor match. I think this is the same one. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3, Roxanne.
Roxanne. Okay, making sure.
Yeah. I don't think there's any other option in this match other than Roxanne.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe Zoe Stark can win.
Yeah, I think Zoe must. It's another set. It's a second for me too.
Barry also has the New Day winning. He is along with us. But yeah, I think it's absolutely got to be Roxanne. I think Roxanne taking the title off of Mandy Rose at this point is just too perfect of a story for Roxanne. It brings that whole story full circle. It gives Mandy this enormous title reign, and it lets Mandy put over somebody who is going to be the future of this division, especially if Mandy and Toxic Attraction are going to be in the Royal Rumble like I think they will be.
Mm-hmm.
The men's Iron Survivor. I already put it out on Twitter. I'm going to go ahead and say it again. Carmelo Hayes. He is him. Melo doesn't miss.
Yeah, and it goes back to my point that I've been saying. If I get Carmelo out of the North American title picture, it's only for him to be in this match and win it. So this is definitely Carmelo for me.
Yeah. I think Melo is – now, there's a whole bunch of potential winners here, but like they brought up in the thing, Melo brought it up himself. JD McDonough and Joe Gacy have already had shots at Braun Breaker. So it makes no sense for either of them to win. And then in my mind, Axiom is out. Barry says that he thinks Axiom's going to win. I would love if Axiom were to win. The problem I have with that is you have a babyface versus a babyface coming up in the next match that we're going to talk about with Braun Breaker and Apollo Crews. So you kind of want one of the heels to win. And you got 4 of them to choose from. And the only ones who haven't had a shot at the championship yet is JD McDonough's had 3 and Gacy's had 2. So it leaves you Grayson Waller and Carmelo Hayes. Unless you're calling up Carmelo Hayes for the Rumble to go into a match that's going to be at Mania, I think you absolutely give Carmelo Hayes a shot at Braun Breaker. He doesn't need to win. I'd like him to win. I think he should win. Actually, I think it'll be Apollo Crews, but that's besides the point. We'll get to that now. We get to Braun Breaker versus Apollo Crews, and I have Apollo Crews.
I want to pick Apollo, but the way it's going, I'm going to go with Braun. Not that I want Braun to win, but
Barry says, I said Axiom as I got sick of agreeing. I like it, Barry. But no, this match could go either way. I think there's so much in it for Braun Breaker to hold this championship right up till Mania and then lose it at Stand and Deliver. Because that would be what? Almost a year's reign for him, right? Because he won it the Monday night after Stand and Deliver, didn't he? He won it on Raw right after the pay-per-view because he lost it at the pay-per-view. Remember me, you, and Cody were very upset because we all had Braun Breaker winning and then Dolph won. We're like, what's the point? And then Dolph lost it again and we were really like, what's the point? This time Barry agrees with you. Braun Breaker.
Let's see. So let me go back here. Okay.
While you go back there and do that, I just want to go ahead and take 1 minute to go ahead and tell you all the fine things that our local establishment has coming up. And that is going to happen. And then we'll be right back to finish out the
inside my head, it's like a fight back and I'll tweet it. Falling, frustrated, intoxicated. I know I'm losing myself. I can't take it anymore. But I'm not done. I'm not done. I won't give up until the end.
So yeah, so those are all the wonderful things that you can catch here on our local establishment, here on Twitch, here on YouTube. But there are all kinds of other places you can find people. And most importantly, you can find Astrid at these places.
Good job, good job. Yeah, my Twitter, Astrid Pizarro. This is where I have the tweet about Molly's questions. If you're too shy to reply because you don't want everybody to see it, you can DM it to me. That's no issue as well. If you want her, if you want me to ask her that question, we're recording it on Friday, so we'll see when I release it. Hopefully, sometime next week. But yeah, right now on my YouTube channel, you have the latest episode of the Ladies Fashion Showcase. Mel and I discuss an article by a platform I would not name, talking about women and the makeup. And also talking about our top 5 influences in wrestling when it comes to women's wrestling. Yeah, and then back here with you doing Taking Over on Tuesday, and then Thursday Making an Impact with Cody, talking about Impact Wrestling. And I had to watch that because I haven't seen it.
And where can we find you for Making an Impact?
Well, my Twitch and my YouTube. And on the weekends, I do my NXT review with Women's Wrestling Talk.
Yeah. And we also got to make sure that we shout out Mike from Backbreaker Media, as Mike from Backbreaker Media also helps. I saw the shirt. That's what maybe remind me. Want to shout out Mike the Ref for all the work he does with Backbreaker Media, which is the company that helps put your stuff out there as well on reruns and stuff for Making an Impact. For me, my stuff is very simple. You can find me right here, Ed Fries 12584 on Twitter. You can find me Ed Fries 2002 on Twitch. I am now starting to stream randomly some gaming content. I am going to, as I said earlier, I am taking over. Astrid and I will be doing this every week now. We are potentially doing a show either Saturday or maybe Sunday, going ahead and recapping the NXT Deadline Show, because I have a feeling that there's going to be some stuff to recap on that show that might be worthwhile talking about. We're trying to see if our schedules can align to make sure we can do a show. Hopefully it'll be right after Deadline, so stay tuned to our Twitters to find out all of the wonderful stuff for that. But I've been Ed Fries. That's me. This has been Astrid Pizarro. Hey, she got the finger guns right. We have taken over, and now we need to get out of here. Have a good night, and we'll see you next time.
Everyone is watching me when I'm coming around.